supposed to be my second.
I work harder than anybody knows, and I've lost touch with everybody close to me, but I won't stop, no, I won't stop, no, I won't stop, no, I can't stop.
What's up? Episode number 14. This was such a good week. This is the kind of the middle point of my training before my meet. So what that means is I hit some heavy weights this week and everything moved so well, especially bouncing back after the terrible week that I had in episode 13. So everything moved super well. We'll get to that once I get to the max effort stuff. But leading it off with the speed work, I significantly cut down the volume. It was more or less just to kind of get me moving some weight that wasn't really that heavy. So if you notice, I cut it down to 5 sets of 2 and I dropped the weight to about 150. And I just repped it out for my squats and that was it. Like I just didn't get heavy. Now what I did do instead of hitting like more volume on my speed work, what I did instead was I did kind of a heavier set of 5 after I finished my squats. And I did 170, which was a small PR. I paused. Okay, let's be real here. These pauses are awful looking back at this footage, but hey, I'm going to count them. So, little baby pause. 170, which was a PR, moved super well. I left a lot in the tank, and I wasn't really trying to crank on any PRs, but it just moved well. Exact same principle went for deadlifts. I got up to 220, and I did 4 sets of singles, so there was literally very little volume actually occurring. And then after that, I did the exact same thing that I did with my squats. I did 1 set of 5, which I loaded up to 255, which was a PR. And this one, I probably pushed it a little bit more on deadlifts just because I knew that squats was what I was going to hit much harder than deadlifts on my max effort day. So I went a little bit harder on deadlifts, but I still left a lot in the tank. 255 was a great little PR for a set of 5 versus the bands. And honestly, after that, this was my biggest PR that I had of the day, which I was the happiest about, which was my RDLs. And I actually loaded up to 215. I did that for 4 sets of 6. And RDLs and my hamstrings have always been weaker than my quads. So it's really cool to kind of see them start to build up some real strength there. And after that, I give you a fantastic thirst angle here. I just did lying leg curls for 3 sets of failure. I loaded up to 40 pounds and just did as many as I could. So I hope you enjoy all the glute angles that you just saw. You're welcome. Came back, did some speed bench. I literally followed the exact same outline that I did for the legs here. So it's going to be a little repetitive, but let's be big boys and girls and we'll fight through this together. So I lowered my volume significantly on my speed bench, 4 sets of 3. Same thing, moving my hands with every set. Wrist is not bothering me at all, which is really good news, which means that it's nothing major, which is always good. After that, I moved into what I do. I did my single set of 5, and I did my double banded, and I just moved into close grip. Exact same as the speed work. Moved super well. Again, left a lot in the tank, which is good. It's exactly how I wanted it. So I talked about this in the last video. I'm actually cutting out military press and turning them into Arnold presses, which is exactly what I did here. I have a really good carryover from Arnold presses, and I find that this actually helps out my bench and carries over to my bench more than just military pressing. So that's why I just like the little extra bit of a stretch I can get on my front delt when I rotate the dumbbells and just bring them down farther. So it really just works a little bit better for my bench. Then we did some back stuff. I did a kind of medium grip or a medium width neutral grip pull down bar. Again, exact same thesis as the leg day. I did 3 sets of failure here on my stuff that wasn't really that big. It was more accessory movements. And I loaded up to 115 and just repped it out kind of thing. So I don't usually show this, which I actually haven't done these in a while, but these wreck me, these croc rows. So on the surface, it looks like I'm just doing a dumbbell row incorrectly, but what a croc row is you use a little bit more body English, you use a little bit heavier weight, and you up the reps a lot. So I'm doing 3 sets of 20, and I mean, I feel this all the way down my lats. I get a really deep stretch, I get a really good contraction, not necessarily like the best contraction, but I get a pretty good contraction out of this. More than anything, I feel the stretch all the way down to like my hip, all the way down to where my lats insert. So, which is great, which is why I do these from time to time, but I know if I do these, they're gonna leave me wrecked, back-wise. So I knew I had a few days off for bench, so I thought, hey, let's throw them in there, see what happens. After the croc rows, I just did some simple barbell shrugs. Nothing fancy. I usually don't show these just because there's nothing to really see. I mean, it's just a shrug. Lots of people do shrugs, so nothing fancy here. The only thing that I do slightly different is I hold it at the top for like a 2-second count in my head before I let it down. And then when I can't do that anymore, I just rep it out kind of thing. Here's where the exciting stuff happens. Max effort lower. This 290 will be my last warm-up. So this will be the last weight that I take in the warm-up room as of right now. And I don't know. It just moves super well. I felt really confident under this and have any issues. Moved really well. Just a great squat. So 310 is what I'm gunning for my opener. This is probably what my opener is going to be around. Now, if you look at my wraps, Laura and I are still experimenting with these wraps, and we corrected on the one after this, but if you look here, there is so much wrap, like, below my knee. And we noticed that as I was getting set up, but it was okay because I could still kind of fight through it. And it moved really well, so my strength is there, but we definitely need to do a better job of correcting that and bringing up some of that wrap more behind my knee just so I get a little bit more pop out of the bottom, which is exactly what we did for this one. So if you look at this one, my wraps come up a little bit higher. I've got a little bit more material bound up behind my knees, give me a little bit more rebound. I reverse band this, and 325 is going to be what my second attempt is. Reverse band this flew up. I have no doubt in my mind I can move this without the reverse bands. It was just a really, really, really good day squatting. I could not be happier with how this day went squat-wise. So then we go into the deadlift, which was very similar. I took my last warm-up, which will be around 310, and I did that for one set, or I did that for a double, moved really well. I don't know, deadlift felt really good today as well. Now I knew that I wasn't going to go as heavy with deadlifts. I wanted to use more of my energy for squats today, so I just did a rack or a block pull basically right below my knees for my opener, which will be 330. So this is more or less just to get my opener weight in my hands, just to build some confidence going into the next week, which will be a deload week. So it was just more than anything was getting weight in my hands. So I pulled this for a double, and again, moved super well. I could not be happier with how this day went. I feel like I said that a lot, but I really am. And then to finish everything off, we did pause squats with the safety squat bar for 3 sets. I actually loaded this bar wrong. If I talk about in my other videos about this bar being 30 pounds, and I completely forgot that it was 30 pounds. So in my mind, I thought I had way more weight on here than what I actually did. It's okay though. We still did my 3 sets of 10 to 15, and safety squat bar wrecks me because it puts it in a high bar position, and I hate high bar squats. Max effort upper. So if you thought that it couldn't get any better, wait till we get into this. Bench. Last warm up, took it for a double of 185. And I hit this whole day down at thirst, 185, moved like butter, so good. After that, loaded up my opener at 195-ish. This will probably change. I was gunning for 195, you'll see in the next clip, and I'll explain a little bit more, but 195 was gunning to be my opener. I'm probably going to change that. I'm probably going to go up just because this moved so well. There was, I mean, there's no reason I should open with that. I should be opening with a little bit more. So I'll probably open around 200 is going to be my guess. Here's my second attempt with a 1 board. This was really the deciding factor. How well that moved is for a second attempt. Even off that 1 board, for a second attempt, this, I mean, that moved like lightning. So what I'm probably going to do is probably take around 210-ish, whatever that comes out to in kilos. That'll be an all-time PR for me. So I'll go into my third already having an all-time PR bench-wise, which will be great. After doing my competition stuff, I decided to hammer away at my triceps just a little bit more, where I did 3 sets of 8 versus a 2 board, plus chains on each side, which is 145 on the bar plus whatever the chains were, which is probably, I don't know, probably about 40 pounds at the top of chains on each side. But that was a PR. My triceps just crushed it. I don't know. This was just such a good week. Bench-wise, squat-wise, deadlift-wise, just so good. And then I just finished out with some accessory stuff, where I did some dumbbell benching. Nothing fancy, just normal dumbbell benching, getting some blood flowing into my chest, getting a little bit of rep work done. And then I finished it out with rope extensions. I think I did some other stuff after this I actually didn't record. But I finished out with rope extensions for just AMRAP sets until I got 50 reps in total. And that was how my week went. Freaking awesome week. I actually didn't record anything from the next week, which is what I just finished, which was actually my deload week, because it wasn't, I mean, the heaviest weight I handled on squats was like 150, and I handled like 135 on bench and 185 deadlifting. So it was really just, it was a deload week. It wasn't anything fancy, so I didn't record anything. And we are back on it this week recording. So we will pick up on the back half of getting ready for this meet. We are like, oh gosh, like 4 weeks out. That's kind of crazy. We're like 4 weeks out right now, 5 weeks out. I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it's coming down to crunch time, so I'm excited. I appreciate you guys watching and paying attention. We will be back next week with some more openers and first and second attempts on all my lifts. So I will see you in episode 15.